Yo, so first of all, thank you so much for taking this call. I really appreciate it.
Of course.
And I do
It's
wanna
always
say,
good content, even when we yell at each other. It's good content.
I think so as well. I think that you're really good content. I think that you're someone with honor. All right. I think you have a lot of honor, and I appreciate that. I like how you talked about Liberty Mutual and your unit and all that stuff, and you stand up for justice, all that shit. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is the Hunter Biden. So we can break some bread, and we can get into the Hutch stuff that I want to ask you a question about. All right. So first of all, I don't like what Hunter is doing right now. Do you agree?
I haven't gotten into it enough. Weirdly enough, he's sufficiently charismatic that if Hunter Biden was like, "Hey, Conor, let's go get a beer," I'd probably go get a beer. Now, as far as the self-sweeping,
Connor, he's in recovery.
oh, pussy, what a loser. So anyway, but as far as like I caught some. I'm very early in the stream, but I caught some self-sweeping. I feel like there was some self-sweeping in there.
I think that it's a little bit unhinged to think that Joe Biden should have been the nominee in 2024. And I think that part of what Hunter Biden is doing right now is a kind of counterattack at what he feels are a bunch of Democrats who betrayed him, when, in my opinion, it's kind of Joe Biden who betrayed the Democrats initially by not even making a decision, really just like floating into this reelection campaign without stopping to even ask the question, is this a good idea? And so I just don't like that. I think that they're implying this entire time Joe Biden could have beat Trump. And I think that if Joe Biden was on that ticket, it was going to be an incredibly horrible landslide victory for Trump that would have put us back even further than we are right now.
I think that I heard you guys talk about this because I think I pre-watched some of the content, and you guys effectively said that there was polling post-debate, pre-election that effectively showed that this was going to be a down ballot disaster. Where effectively, like, Kamala, like, people feel bad because the late minute switch out might have cost Kamala the election, but realistically the damage was minimized. So I think that's a compelling narrative.
Yeah, and the second part is I've been arguing against some leftoids, not really leftoids, more the blue MAGA types, who say that I'm insufficiently loyal to Biden because I condemn as corrupt the pardoning of Hunter Biden, which I have and I did ever since those pardons were issued. And even though I have argued strongly against you, the notion that Joe Biden was in on this stuff, was in some sort of very intricate way, that doesn't mean that you're allowed to respond with political pardons, what I take to be corrupt pardons, on the basis of personal familial allegiance. And so I really appreciate what you were just saying there about Liberty Mutual. I think it's the wrong incentive. It's the wrong thing to do. And yeah, like, it's not just also the gun thing. People conflate it with just the gun thing. Like, oh, but the gun thing was just like, it was never done before. Even putting aside if that's true, and it might be true, I don't think that novelty by itself is enough to pardon someone. Like, every crime needs to be applied for the first time in one way. So, like, I mean, Trump, arguably with the New York case, even though I felt he was very guilty and the evidence showed that, there was like a novel application of one of the predicate offenses to condemn him on that basis. And then also, beyond just the gun charge, there's the tax fraud. And everyone seems to put aside the fact that it's not just he didn't report his taxes, he lied about his income when he knew he was making in millions from Burisma, and he lied about it. So even though you and I have fought about like what's Joe Biden's involvement there, I have never ever said that like Hunter Biden is innocent or that Hunter Biden should be pardoned just because he's the son of the president.
Yeah, and I think I got pissed at you in the past because I think that some people, my chat mainly, because they're fucking brilliant and have 3,000 IQ, although they piss me the fuck off all the time. I think some people pay attention to the words that are being said and they create conceptions within their mind of what's actually being said, and they understand it and they fight it out logically. I think a lot of people only respond emotionally, where they can kind of feel like, oh, this person's more on my side, therefore, you know, I'm going to cheer them on. And so substantively, I feel like with you and me, part of the emotion of the fight that we had previously about Hunter is I felt like that you were minimizing, still feel that way a little bit, but I could understand the logical conceptions that you were making. And there are people in my chat who effectively followed your emotional argument, but did not follow your logical argument. And so they're arguing with me right now. They're like, no, Hunter Biden did nothing wrong. He's kissed babies for 20 years. He's God's gift to America and corporations. He's amazing. And I'm just like, what the fuck are you talking about? And no offense, I think it's partially your and Steven's fault.
Me and Steven's fault?
Well, not because of the logic. The logical articulations you guys have made are logical. The emotional argumentation is that Hunter Biden is a saint and nobody should give a fuck about it.
That's what I take to kind of be like Steven's point of view, which is like,
I don't know if that's literally his point of view, though. I feel like that's emotionally his point of view.
He's like, anyone soying out about the pardons is a piece of shit, or like shouldn't be soying out about them. By the way, I don't soy out about him that much. They're constantly brought up to me to be like, listen, you're beyond the pale. You're just trying to hurt Democrats. Don't you know, by attacking Biden, by attacking, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say, I think that Hutch's perspective, which I heard, and your perspective are actually not contradictory. Okay. Mm-hmm. You can believe that it's a bad look for Democrats and it's also corruption or soft corruption or whatever to pardon your son for any and all crimes for the past decade. And effectively, you said you weren't going to do it. So that feels like a betrayal to your voting base. That's a true statement. Now, what Hutch said, which I agree with, which is that people are human. They have some level of familial loyalty. And so as a result, you can expect a father who lost his daughter, lost his wife, lost his eldest son, and is on the verge of losing his youngest son to incarceration. You can expect him to pardon his son. And that's understandable from a familial loyalty perspective. I don't think that that is contradictory. I think both of those statements can stand.
Yeah, I guess I would expect it in the sense of like, could I predict it? Maybe you can predict it. Maybe it's reasonable to anticipate that a father might do that. That's a separate question from whether it's the right thing to do.
Well, I liked what you said, even if I didn't agree with it, where you were like, yes, but as a public servant, you must put the public interest ahead of yourself. And I was like, fucking Patriot Pisco, fucking Patriot Pisco, the public servant.
Yeah, bro. Love is the death of duty, man. I mean, they're right about that. Like, you swear.
That sounds like a Warhammer saying.
That's a Game of Thrones. That's why they take the oaths in the wall, right? To not have any children, is because love is the death of duty. And ultimately, like, a lot of tragedies bear that out, that when even Anakin Skywalker, why did he turn away? He was afraid to lose the thing he loved. But when you swear an oath, when you have a higher calling, a higher allegiance, yeah, it might be understandable that you come up short, but I think you need to strive towards it. And especially when he gave his word as a Biden, right? And that's their common phrasing. I give you my word as a Biden for what that's worth.
Yeah. And now that word's worth dog shit. Yeah. I would like to jump into the fiction real quick. So with the Star Wars references, what's interesting about watching that, I'm actually doing a breakdown channel about Star Wars now. What's interesting about that is watching how the Jedi failed in their own institutional principles leading up to Anakin existing as like the messianic figure who they knew was fucked up, but they were kind of like praying that he was not fucked up enough to destroy the whole galaxy, but they always knew that there was this potential. And so that's the thing. It's like, there's people in my chat who are like, oh, well, human's gonna human. They basically take like a Brittany Simon approach to things. But it's like, no, dude, you have to reinforce ideals. Like, that's the point of ideals. Human beings fail in ideals all the time. But if you don't reinforce them, then we don't have any.
Yeah, and that's why I think one of the things that Biden did that was most honorable is he started his administration appointing Merrick Garland to the Department of Justice to bring back independence to the Department of Justice. And yet, as it went on, as we're getting reporting, Joe Biden grew increasingly frustrated that Merrick Garland wasn't like choosing to call off the indictment of his son because it's his son. And I think that's very.
Well, hold on. What is that reporting though? Because I insinuated this without evidence, and then people were like, "You're fucking crazy." And then
no. I never said that. No, there was in real time reporting. I forget from whom, but it was either like Washington Post or Wall Street Journal or someone that Biden was reportedly frustrated with Merrick Garland. That happened during Biden's term, and then Jake Tapper has uncovered more evidence in more interviews that Joe Biden was really angry that Merrick Garland wasn't dropping the suit on his son.
And I feel like I'm describing color to a blind man, because like I worked in law enforcement before. I worked in, corporate America before, obviously on small ends, small potatoes. I'm not trying to exaggerate my shit. but I've had conversations with people where I basically told them, like, no, you need to be explicit with what you're asking me to do. And then they insisted on being like, well, I can't legally tell you blah, 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 blah. And then it was like,
And then they
so
say
they said the legal thing, but they were implying the corrupt thing. And so, you know, that's where for me, like, if you've never been in those rooms, then you might have never felt that. But even with like managers or deputy chiefs or chiefs of police or managers at corporations or corporate managers, they will say the legal thing. That way, if it's being audio recorded or typed out or messages, they can fall back on that from a legalistic perspective, but they will 100% imply, even if it's not illegal, they'll imply the corrupt thing. And so you kind of have to be in those rooms.
Well, thankfully, I don't think that Joe Biden ever expressed those concerns to the Attorney General, and so I'm glad about that. I think that what Biden did he by and large, I think, governed with honor at certain times. Not that said, I think his own human failings started to show that he wasn't up to the task of being the president, especially in the last 2 years where he wasn't having regular meetings with his cabinet, things like that. But in general, one of the things I really respect about Biden is, in many respects, he was like everything Trump wasn't. He was bridge building, or attempting to be bridge building, in a way that Trump was trying to dismantle the bridges. He passed lots of legislation with bipartisan support, meaningful legislation, not just tax cuts for the rich, and was actually trying to do something for the public benefit all the time with his NLRB, with his different agencies, different regulations. Like, so I respect all that. I think his worst moments are when he was tempted by the Trumpian style. Like there was like some Trumpian, you know, like the who's the Goblin from Spider-Man? Green Goblin.
Yeah,
like,
the mask.
It's like there are moments in Trump's presidency where that blonde fucking hair just like goes and you can see it in the mirror and he has to like fucking just swat it away. But there are very Trumpian moments that are being revealed now with respect to his frustration with the DOJ, that they're not protecting him, both in the Hur report. He was apoplectic about the Hur report, even though he cooperated in the first instance. He was trying to do the right thing, but then that Trumpian little mirror came in, and he had to sort of fight that urge. Same thing with Hunter Biden, where he fought that urge, and then gave into it when he actually did the pardon. And then with the border, right? He kept saying, we have to do it the right way. We can't just do executive actions. We need to have a congressional solution. And then when the election was coming up, he did what I thought was against the law, and he shut down the border illegally, using executive power, and gave into that Trumpian impulse. And I think, or when he tried to hold on to power by not stepping down when it was clear it was over, and taking 3 weeks before handing over to Kamala Harris or handing over to the DNC. Those are Trumpian moments that marred an otherwise, a presidency that I think was by and large characterized by honor and trying to be everything that Trump wasn't.
Well, and I can understand the frustration. So, for instance, like I'm sure we'll talk about the Vanguard in a moment, but I can understand the frustrations of the far left, and I actually think that there's something real about it, which is effectively that people are so wrapped up in process that they will even ignore things that are immediate and emergencies and all that kind of stuff. But I think that this is how republics die. Okay. Part of the reason why I'm pushing back on the left, pushing back on the far left, pushing back on liberals whenever they say, I know we disagree on this, but let's pack the courts. Let's do Trump style politics. Let's use the bully pulpit. Let's do this. Let's do that. The reason why you'll hear me complaining about it is because effectively, like, I feel like we're seesawing as a nation. Like imagine like a boat that is, rocking in the ocean. And so effectively what I hear is like, we're seesawed all the way to the right now. And what I'm hearing people is, oh, we need to seesaw all the way to the left right now. But that's how you capsize the fucking boat. And that's what I'm worried about.
Well, let's get into the actual discussion from Vanguard, Hutch, all that stuff. So give me your reaction before because I actually don't know it. I saw that.
Yeah. I was simping for Hutch. So I think Hutch has a debate kill shot in a couple of places. The first kill shot that he had, argumentatively, in my opinion, was that you could not bully Manchin. So even if you even if you want Democrats to use the bully pulpit more often, it just wasn't pragmatic in this specific circumstance. That's number one.
On that, I just want to say we agree on the specific Manchin point, that he couldn't have gotten Manchin through bullying to be in favor of like $15 minimum wage or some of these crazy policy goals that the Vanguard is saying. And I just want to make sure that you understand that every one of the Lib and Learn co-hosts agrees with Hutch, and we have been consistent on that. Like even before.
But I think you guys were again emotional versus logical arguments. I think people could kind of vibe on the fact that in general you guys do wish Democrats were more aggressive, use the bully pulpit more often, stop being pussies, stop mincing words. I think you mentioned Amy Klobuchar as an example.
Amy Klobuchar as an example, or maybe you mean Kristen Sinema?
No, I think you were talking about Klobuchar in reference to redistricting.
Not sure about that. I certainly didn't bring that up, but certainly not me. Maybe someone brought it up. I'm not sure.
I could be bringing up the wrong name, but I think you guys were talking about how Democrats are currently looking at redistricting and gerrymandering districts effectively. That Texas and Florida and other red states have run away with it. There's specifically a Democrat, I forget who refused to redistrict her state, and as a result of her lack of gerrymandering.
Kathy Hochul, governor of New York.
Excuse me. Yeah, I'm being racist. I was racist to Middle Eastern and North African women earlier today. I confused a Somali with a Palestinian.
White women.
So I just so now I just confused two white women. So that's good.
say white.
White.
All right, there you go.
White.
Because you say all sorts of slurs. You need to start being more aggressive against your white people. All right. So what is it with white people these days?
They're pissed off.
They're always pissed about something. Anyway, I think that you should have been more aggressive in signaling, not necessarily to get Manchin to adopt some like socialist policy. And let's again put in context: we're not arguing for socialist policies. We're arguing for Biden's own agenda, right? Like his own stated agenda that he ran on. So a lot of people are conflating this, like, oh, you wanted him to fight like tooth and nail for some crazy socialist aspiration. That's not what's going on. We're just fighting for Biden's agenda. I don't think that you be more aggressive, and certainly I'm not going to take the maximal, like call your DOJ and sick him on Joe Manchin, like do all this crazy shit. And I'm just saying, I think that is to signal to the base, signal to the people that you give a shit. And I think that is where Biden undoubtedly left some chips on the table where he could have looked like he gave a shit more than he did. That's all we're saying. I think it's a modest point and something that Hutch should really agree to. I think you would agree to it.
I think it's just lost in the noise of the debate because the Vanguard boys are basically saying like this specific tactic, and you guys generally agree that Democrats should stop being wussies. But then that kind of gets mixed as an endorsement for the specific tactic. So again, it's the emotional argumentation rather than the logical conceptions of what's being stated.
Yeah, I totally agree with that assessment, Connor. But that's what frustrates me, because then we go out and say it, and we're like, we do agree with Hutch on the micro points that you're not moving Manchin on $15 minimum wage, that you're not really going to be able to, you can't bully Manchin. I even say specifically in the debate, you can't bully Manchin. You can't bully Manchin. I say it in the debate, but it doesn't matter. They'll still maintain that we betrayed Hutch. I've seen that so often, but
that's the most entertaining part of the content too, by the way, is when the more, I guess, moderate or centrist liberal is fighting the progressives. That's the content. So people are like, oh, Hutch is going to get bullied off the program, and I'm like, dude, this is the best content that they produce because it actually has spice.
No, but listen, I don't deny, like, I thought it was a fun thing to do in the moment. But what I see and what like is fucking annoying is these massive threads, like they are gaslighting Hutch. Point to me one instance of us gaslighting Hutch, that they are.
We'll talk about that in a second.
doing something, doing something improper or like lying to Hutch, or at least I'll speak for myself. I know that Econoboy has recently come out as a socialist. All right, I don't want to, and that his identity. He can come out. I am certainly not a communist. I am not a socialist. The way they're trying to paint it is bad faith, gaslighting. They're becoming tankies. They're building bridges with tankies. And that is what I take issue with. And also that like we're betraying Hutch. And there's no substantiation for that point. It's all kind of vibes. But I want to hear your reaction.
I think as long as you guys effectively make, like, you guys should probably talk amongst yourselves. I'm sure you do. If you have a group chat or whatever, basically, I think it just needs to be, we're in a coalition together. We're all pushing for the same direction. We disagree with each other, but when we're on stream, we're just bantering. Like, obviously, we're talking about serious shit. We're talking about policy. We're doing this. We're doing that. But it's bants. We don't fucking hate each other.
Sorry. I don't think we take it like we're shooting the shit in the chat this entire time. Like we and are maintaining healthy, good relationships off stream. For me, it's not so much us and Hutch in that relationship. Where if there was an issue there, we would handle it offline. But we're like totally good behind the scenes. We're texting each other. We're sending memes, all that stuff. What I'm like the narrative from others, like not me with Hutch. It's me and other people making these what I take to be false smears that you are a communist, you're a socialist, you betrayed Hutch, you're gaslighting Hutch.
It's because you're hanging out with Aaron. That's why. It's because you're hanging out with Aaron, and she's obviously a open.
What does that have to do with anything?
Well, yeah. I'll tell you, the exterior narrative is that Pisco is becoming more progressive, more lefty. He's doing apologia for far lefties because he's hanging out with Aaron and he's hanging out with the Vanguard boys and he's hanging out with Kyle Kalinske, and they're slowly poisoning his brain and rotting him.
One, that is super condescending to me. Like
it totally denies your agency.
My goal is to move them. All right. My goal on Crystal and Kyle is to get them to care more about, and first of all, for Crystal and Kyle, I think they do care. I legitimately think they do care. And Crystal has said to me and publicly that also like the liberals were right all along to be worried about rights and these kind of norms. She even says directly, she goes, I used to laugh about the norm, but now seeing Trump 2.0, like actually the libs were right about the norms. And so I think they've already moved closer to us in some of these respects. And so my whole goal is to, hey, I think Erin, the reason why I'm doing content with her is because she's funny, because she's fun. And because like it's like back and forth banter. It's a different kind of content than I usually do. Like often my content is like very dry and it's like just like going over legal stuff. And I think Erin gives me opportunity to show my personality and it would have a little bit more fun banter than on my normal streams. And so it's just a very different thing. It's not about me becoming more a communist or anything. And that same kind of guilt by association would apply to you. Like you hung out with Lauren Southern and you had a bunch of stuff with Lauren Southern. You had a bunch of stuff with all different people, right? Brianna Wu, all these other people. That didn't mean that you were like becoming them just because of your association. It's because
but I caught all kinds of shit for that. And you know,
you fought against so. It.
Yeah, expectedly so. So it's not a big deal. The main thing though that I would say though is that it seems like there is a misbalance on the show where Pondering seems to be a facilitator of conversation. He jumps. Josiah. Josiah seems to be more of like a facilitator where once he sees like the conversation break down, he'll try to like make the points in order to get the conversation moving forward again. But he doesn't seem to be like jumping in on Hutch's side and throwing a fucking elbow from the sidelines, which just might not be his personality. But that's where it feels like the show is a little bit unbalanced because it seems that you and Econo Boy oftentimes see eye to eye, and so you're throwing elbows at Hutch. Hutch is doing a great job, in my opinion, and throwing fucking elbows back, but it feels like a 2.5v1, where Pondering is trying to split the difference. You and Econo Boy are on the same page, and then Hutch is like the lone, you know, he doesn't like being called like a moderate liberal, but he's like the lone moderate liberal, just like throwing fucking punches in every direction. That's what it feels like.
I don't view it like ideologically, right? This is what I don't understand. It feels that Hutch maybe is more moderate, maybe more centrist on some of the disagreements we're having, but like the disagreements are kind of like about tactically, how does Biden best promote his own agenda, right? That's basically our argument in this specific instance isn't about what the agenda should be, right? We're all kind of agreed. We're behind the Biden agenda.
But I want to talk about AOC, and the Vanguard is proximately more allies than Rob Noor line of argumentation, because I think.
Oh, you want to go there? Okay, yeah, let's go.
But I think I can demonstrate to you. I literally made a drawing. I could show you the breakdown. But if you have something else to share on that point, share on that point. I just wanted to say that I wanted to do that at some point.
I think if you actually are objective and looking at the points of disagreements, they're not like, which should we have Medicare for all or not Medicare for all? Should we be in favor of stopping all funds to Israel, or should we be in favor of, you know, maybe just doing a tiered approach, or we're taking away certain kinds of funds, or maybe we're having, maybe it's a full relationship. Like those aren't the disagreements that Hutch is having with me and Econo Boy. The disagreements are like, how do we best promote Biden's agenda? How do we best promote Democrats? And none of that is like an ideological battle. It's kind of like a strategic, tactical battle. And so
I
even
disagree.
to put it in terms of moderate versus not moderate. Moderate. You're muted, by the way, if you want to say that.
Oh,
Moderate
I was
versus
going
not
to say I
moderate.
disagree.
Okay, go for it.
Oh well, actually, if you'll indulge me, I'll share this with you because I actually think that we are at mildly opposed tactical and strategic goals, and I think I'm actually aligned with Hutch more than I am with you. But if you look at my beautiful drawing, I'm going to make it big on my screen.
Yeah, make it big.
Effectively, what's that?
I just made it big as well.
Okay. So the L in the top left, R in the top right is obviously left and right. This is the political spectrum. FL is far left. Prog is progressive. Lib is lib. Lib on the right is libertarian, moderates, and neoconservative. Then I put contrarians. Then I put MAGA. And the big box is actually the coalition that I want to build. I want to take sensible progressives, sensible liberals, libertarians, moderates, neoconservatives, and some of the contrarians that we can win back. And I want to say that MAGA is effectively rat poison that's killing the country. And this is the coalition that I want to build. However, if the vanguard are Marxist Leninists, or if Hassan Piker or Ogre Boy or Vosh or whatever are far leftists, then they're not part of my coalition. And I would actually, ideally, I would like to excise them even if I can't, right? Yeah. And so when Josiah, I'm pointing it out on my map, when he says, oh, I'm more proximate to the Vanguard boys, who I put in the far left thing, he's technically right that Rob Noor is further away. However, you know, me as like, call me a neocon, call me a conservatarian, whatever, I'm closer to him, ideally, than he is to the Vanguard boys. So the argument from Hutch and myself is that if you pander or play footsie with the far left, you're losing the center-right people that you could attract.
I hear what you're saying. Let me respond to a couple things. The first is my coalition is anti-MAGA, by and large. I just want people who are anti-MAGA and willing to vote for, for the Democratic candidate. And that's why I'm building bridges with people who range on the spectrum ideologically, but who have expressed a desire or a preference for voting for the Democrat over the Republican in that context. That's a broad tent coalition. And in terms of whether we're closer to you or closer to the Vanguard, I think it depends on what. I think the single axis thing that you're pointing at is kind of like a looking at the labels, and so I don't necessarily have a problem with you like putting the labels in the way you're doing it, but I would, for example, consider MAGA like in terms of left right, the traditional economic spectrum. I don't know like how right wing, like a lot of the MAGA people seem like they're okay with planned economies in some instances, right? Like a lot of the time they're okay with like Trump.
Yeah, but that's when it gets into a horseshoe.
Yeah, sure. So in terms of ideology, I'm definitely closer to you on issues of structure when it comes to like a lot of these norms of, I think, of certain rights probably than the Vanguard. But in terms of economic policy, I'm probably way more comfortable with socialized medicine than you are, or I don't know about that, but like,
yeah, somebody asked me that about in chat or whatever. Basically, I don't have a problem with a multi-payer system. I think everybody should have like a basic decent level of care, and then if you're rich, you can pay for all the fucking extras.
Yeah, so I don't know how far or close I am to you versus Vanguard. I consider it like, if you guys are acknowledging that the Democrat
but are the Vanguard, sorry, real quick, are the Vanguard though, are they Marxist Leninists? Are they tankies? Are they crypto tankies? You know what's that? Because to me, I would view that as effectively the opposite mirror of Christian nationalism. I really would.
Are you a Christian nationalist?
Sorry, what's that?
Are you a Christian nationalist?
No.
Oh.
I'm saying Christian nationalists, authoritarian theocrats. Even let's say that JD Vance was still a never Trump Republican and he had perfect right-wing policy, and I wanted to vote for JD Vance. Well, a Christian nationalist might also vote for JD Vance, but they want to institute a Christian autocracy. They want to destroy the Constitution of the United States. So we might be proximate allies, as Josiah was saying, in the fact that we're both voting for the same candidate. However, we have opposed political projects.
Yeah. So if the Vanguard start promoting a candidate that I think will cause the breakdown of society similar to like a Christian nationalist candidate, then I won't support that candidate. Like if I think that there's a candidate from the left who poses an existential threat greater to MAGA, I'm obviously I'm going to do a different risk calculus there, and I won't support him. But I don't think that, like right now, where we are in terms of the Overton window, whatever you want to say, like we're not even close to having fielding a candidate that's like that. Mamdani,
But I don't want to. I don't want to entertain. I don't want to entertain the shift left. So for instance, I think what Hutch's argumentation, because I think you guys pointed out towards the end of the stream that like 80%, 90% of his content right now is anti-far left content. He's trying to, in my opinion, like strangle the infant in the crib of far left hoodoo fucking nonsense. And he feels like it's not getting called out by the left. You guys kind of minimize it. And then what I would say is I side with fucking Hutch, because the truth is that if those people become more relevant, if those people become propagandistic tools by the far right or whatever, the contrarians, I know it's not fair, but the contrarian right are looking for any excuse not to vote for a Democrat. Any excuse.
Yeah,
so if you give them any excuse, they go right.
So in terms of the lefties, some of them whom we bring on our show, they're more relevant than us in terms of their audiences. Kyle and Crystal are platforming me.
Relevant or irrelevant?
Relevant, right?
Okay.
Breaking Points is a show that gets millions of viewers every single week. You know, Kyle Kalinske gets millions of viewers every single week. The Vanguard, much bigger than me. They get more views than me or Hutch. They're, you know, when we invite them onto our show, it's in some ways a favor to us, okay? Because we're small fish, all right? And I don't think that there's like anything that we could do or not do that would stymie their growth. And so in terms of the prescription, what good? What are we doing by like spending our time like burning bridges, if that's the prescription? Like is the prescription to burn the bridges with the Vanguard, with Crystal and Kyle? So then what is actually the prescription of us that would be helpful to strangling in the crib some notions or some people? Like we're not going to do that. We're not going to.
I think having the good fights and being the better creator. So I think that Hutch and I are probably in similar boats, which kind of sucks. Which is that we're like, I don't know, drier, more boring. You know, we don't do meth, we don't bang whores.
Me too. Guess what? Me too. I'm boring too.
Yeah, so we don't
boring creator.
We don't do hard drugs. We don't have sex with like crazy Instagram models, and we don't have like schizophrenic politics.
That's also one of the problems is the left. A lot of liberals suck as creators. I learn a lot from these other lefties creators who have more riz. They just have more riz. They have
because they're crazy.
I don't think it's just because they're crazy. I think that
I think they're a little crazy. Not specifically whoever you said. I didn't even hear. I didn't say whoever you said specifically. I'm just saying that, like, I think when you have more extreme politics, it's just more attractive. It's more, it gets the people going.
But as an example, we're not reaching out to the Mike from PAs of the world. We're not reaching out to Hassan to come on our show as though he would. We're not reaching out to people who are so far to the left, the bad empanadas.
You were asking if burning the bridge was the prescription, and I think that Hutch bought down on that. I don't think he needed to. And also, I'll tell you what my prescription would be.
Yeah, tell me.
So with the Vanguard in particular, I think Hutch did. I think he did exactly what I would want him to do in reference to the AOC drama and in reference to the Manchin drama, which is with Manchin, he just pointed out like, hey guys, I hear you. You want Democrats to be more passionate. However, tactically, this just doesn't make sense. And what's funny is that because I'm an emotional creature as well, I was siding with the Vanguard at the beginning of the debate because I'm like, yeah, Democrats are pussies. They need to wake up. They need to get mad. They need to do this. They need to do that.
They do.
But Hutch actually had like a decent tactical analysis that was undeniable, right?
Well, no, but the thing is, he
did the same thing with the AOC debate, by the way.
Yeah, I know, but I almost think it's a bit of a distraction because, yeah, we agree with Hutch on the specific Manchin, the relitigating of the issue of the past, relitigating the issue of the past with respect to Manchin, all that other stuff. He's right about the micro point, but the macro point, which is what I think Econoboy and I were trying to get to is, let's get some energy. Let's get some fight in us. It's something that we can improve on, which is why I think that initial inclination of you, Conor, is so telling, because that's my initial inclination is, yeah, like I hear these two young boys, these young men who are coming on and basically saying Democrats need to be better fighters. And I agree with that, right? I Totally agree with that. On the micro points, yeah, Hutch wins. We've always agreed with him on those specific micro points. And I guess in the AOC, it's a different conversation, but that's what I mean. Like the broader point of how we can learn, I think there's a lot to learn from people anyone who says that like the Democrats did things perfectly or like should have stuck around with Joe Biden or did things well in Harris's campaign. You know, I'm bored of that. I want to say, how can we improve? How can we be better? And that's why I'm so like, honestly, just so rolling my eyes at the Hunter Biden stuff is because he's basically saying we should have just stuck with Biden instead of stuck with Biden. And that's like the opposite of what I think we should do.
Well, and with the AOC thing, though, and I'll have an explanatory thing at the end, but with the AOC thing, though, I feel like Hutch was correct again. And by the way, I was with everybody else first, and then he won me back on a tactical point, which is effectively that you, Andy Conor said, you know, the lefties are just being crazy. You know, it doesn't affect the electoralism. Don't worry about it. They're voting for Democrats anyways. They're just bitching because they love to bitch. And then you also said, couldn't we do this in an effective way? Which is effectively saying like, hey, we don't want to be participants in your guys' current ethnic cleansing campaign. So we're not going to zero squash your defensive munitions, but you need to pick up the bill. So over the next year or over the next 6 months, you're picking up the bill for the Iron Dome, and then Israeli civilians don't get killed, but we're not involved in the complicity of ethnic cleansing, which, by the way, I thought was a very reasonable point. But to Hutch's point,
that was the point, right? Like Hutch is trying to be like, on the substantive point, I think Hutch ended up agreeing there with the notion that if you take the view that,
but he did have a kill shot.
Oh well, hang on.
I want you to explain it, but I want to explain the kill shot afterwards.
Yeah. Yes, you can definitely explain the kill shot. If on the substance, right, we're not talking about the tactical point. On the substance of that vote, if you take the view that, as I do, that Israel is conducting an unjustified genocide and ethnic cleansing campaign, or something approaching that, and that they have an unjustified, untenable position currently in Palestine with their actions, then of course it makes all the sense in the world to cut defense style munitions and funding for their Iron Dome because all of it's fungible, right? It's all fungible. You know, if I give you money to buy food and you give that money to Israel, the argument has been in terms of the material support provisions for like Hamas and Hezbollah, no, you can't send money to Hamas because they'll just use that money to buy food, and that's offshoring some of their expenses that they can now use for their offensive weaponry. And so it's all fungible. And people act as though that's such an unhinged position on the substance, right? So I don't think that's
I was saying that was
position.
actually your strongest point. Yeah.
And the fungibility argument, and I think even Hutch granted that, is
most people just don't know what the word fungible means.
Yeah, it means you can funge it. No, it means it's all money is spent one place, right? You can shift that.
It helps you move around other shit.
Else. Yeah, it's movable. It's flexible in that way. So that money spent, if you're able to shore up in one discrete area, it lessens the load you have to bear there, and you can use that to shore up your offensive weaponry.
Let me tell you the kill shot, because this is where like I just shifted to Hutch almost immediately. Was he brought up the fact that this is, if you're looking at a 10-second summary, which is oftentimes the way that people consume their information, particularly in the TikTok and Twitter landscape, then the headline is going to read, AOC voted against defensive weapons for Israel, right? That's going to be the headline.
But hang on, but Conor, I agreed with that strategic point, which is why I'm not giving AOC a hard time there, is because I'm aware of that.
But
I know
other
what
people
game
are.
She's playing. Yeah, I understand, but like, I don't agree. That's why I say I don't agree with that criticism that they're saying she's a disgrace, she's this or that or whatever, because I know what game that AOC is playing, and so I'm not gonna judge her super hard on that vote 100%. And I think that she has ambitions, and I want to protect and defend her. But we agreed on that. That's why, like, I don't understand where all of this
because you guys need to you're fighting each other, but ideally you would be working together. And the way that it would work is that you would take the energy and passion of the left, of the far left, of these young kids who might be a little bit idealistic and their tactics are unsound, but then you filter it through the tactical acumen of an intelligent liberal who can explain electoral politics. But right now, these people are treating each other. Right now, these people are treating each other like enemies, not like people on the same team.
So how is this going to work, actually, Conor? Because my actual position is the following: you should stop all funding of Israel, and you should stop them entirely, including but not limited to Iron Dome spending, and that because it's all fungible, I think the right thing is for America to stop totally. That is my position. I'm just telling you what my position is. But the basis that I would defend to go on those shows is like, even though I agree with you guys that that's how America should act, I'm okay with AOC doing this because of optics and for pure power strategy, like it's House of Cards. That's not going to play well with anybody, and really no one but us people in the weeds are going to be able to sign off on that defensive AOC. I really think that is
the truth hurts. The truth hurts. This is the thing. Like, honestly, I don't know how to square this circle, and maybe I'm just bad at it. Like I could just be bad at this. I don't know. But I don't know how to square the circle of the passions of the population with the tactical intelligence necessary to be good at politics. I don't know how to square that circle. The only thing that kind of guides me is telling the truth as I see it. That's the only thing at the end of the day. So if I have a bad opinion, I still have to share my bad opinion because I earnestly believe it. And if it pisses people off, it pisses people off. I mean, dude, I've been pissing my chat off all day. To be fair, they've been pissing me off as well.
The bridge. I'm not going to burn the bridge with someone who thinks.
I don't think you should burn any bridges.
Okay, so then what are we talking about here?
I'm talking about, let's say, so by the way, this is fire content. People are talking about it. So I actually would change nothing in reference to content for lefties fighting lefties. That's great. But what I would talk about with Crystal Ball, with Kyle Kalinske, with the Vanguard boys, is I would say like, hey, I love your passion. You guys are so cool, blah, blah, blah. Let's get beers. Let's get drunk. Let's start dating Instagram e-thoughts together. Let's do a little bit of meth. But I got my boy Hutch over here, and he's a pretty smart electoral guru, and he has some criticisms. I want y'all to fight it out.
Isn't that what we did, though? That's what I'm saying. Like, isn't that what we did?
And it's fire content. We're talking about it.
I know, but like people are acting as though some other thing should have been done, right? Some other that
you just need one more liberal.
I'm a liberal. Fuck face. How am I not a liberal? Explain how I'm not a liberal anymore. You're like, okay, you're saying I'm a socialist communist. How is this even a liberal discussion?
I said you're a progressive.
Okay. How is this at all, right? Like, how is this discussion about defending AOC or not defending AOC? How is that you're a socialist or liberal type discussion? It's like a tactical discussion.
Okay. You don't have to agree with my assessment. I'm just going to give you my assessment.
Because you hang out with Aaron.
I mean, that's the outside. However, inside the group dynamic, it seems that Econoboy and you tend to agree on a lot and are willing to fight Hutch on a topic. Pondering is playing the middle ground and facilitating conversation, so oftentimes he feels like the moderator. So either Pondering needs to come down from his moderator status and fight alongside Hutch passionately, or you need another fucking
milquetoast doesn't agree with Hutch. That's the thing. Pondering doesn't agree with Hutch.
Well, then you need another milquetoast lib.
But we are milquetoast libs. The show is about milquetoast libs. That was the whole conception of the show.
Nope.
What do you mean?
Well, yeah, and my chat is saying these guys are a bunch of far left fucking socialist lunatics. They're deluding themselves about being liberals.
Wait, hang on. So Conor just came out. So I don't want to squash his truth. He just came out. So Conor just came out as socialist. So I agree with that aspect. But in terms of me and Josiah, where there also is critique that we are moving more to the left, explain that.
Sure. I would say it's probably guilt by association. I would say it's probably substantively guilt by association, because from the outside, we see you guys hanging out with the Vanguard, and you guys aren't holding hands above the table, but you interlock your toes. You're playing footsie together, and then you're fucking hanging out with Erin, and you're playing footsie with her too. So yeah, like, it's guilt by association, but you're guilt by associating to the left, and you're not guilt by association to the center and the right.
Oh, wait, I debate righties all the time. I bring on...
You debate, meaning that you have fights with them, which means that you're pushing against them. You're not fucking interlocking your toes with them.
Aaron and I disagree. Wait, Aaron and I disagree on our show. Like,
yeah, but is it fun?
It's more collaborative. Yeah, it's more fun. It's more fun and banter.
Yeah.
Well, but what do you want me to do? Like, so if there's a righty out there who...
You don't have to accept my prescription. You don't have to accept my prescription. I'm just saying that's the exterior perception.
You're basically saying that it's all virtue signaling, it's all who you align yourself with, it's all who you do shows with, but it's not about an actual tracking of any changed position, which nobody can identify, right? Like, nobody can identify a single changed position in this supposed like turn to the left. No one can identify even one thing.
I think it's Israel. I think it's mostly Israel. Because the truth is, when it comes to Twitch and YouTube politics or online politics, oftentimes, like I describe myself as like a tepid Zionist, right? Which is effectively like, I think the state of Israel should exist, but we probably shouldn't help them out with the ethnic cleansing. But if you look at the broad swath of like American political opinion, I think it's 2-1, 3-1 in general support for Israel. And so as a result, that seems like a either far left or lefty progressive take, or that feels like a far right take to be against Israel. And so I feel like if you're talking to the Vanguard boys, or if you're talking to Aaron and you're just saying like, yeah, fuck Israel, we shouldn't fund them at all, then that's going to be viewed as a far lefty talking point.
Yeah, so I think that Piers Morgan has come out and said that what's going on.
Sure. It's becoming increasingly normalized online, for sure.
And like the whole country has seen the depravity of what's happening, like the constant massacres at food sites, the starvation deaths that are now increasing significantly. So like to act as though, okay, now being more vocal against the atrocities that are being committed, that is a lefty position, or I don't know. I don't think that it is. Even just to be clear about something, I was supporting Joe Biden's efforts to get a ceasefire. I'm in favor of a two-state solution. I'm right, like Joe Biden on that.
But this is where
ceasefire.
The right wing is associated with like what is it? They call it Kufi, the evangelical Christian support for Zionist Israel, et cetera, and then also the tepid Democrats, the Zionist Democrats, the Jewish Democrats, who are viewed as more right wing in context to this issue. One of the arguments that I brought up repeatedly that they bring up as well is that while providing $3.8 billion per year, enabling Israel in order to do the ethnic cleansing is monstrous. Effectively, we need to be critical enough of the state of Israel in order to reel back in their bullshit, but we can't be so critical that we lose their orbit. And so this kind of becomes like a dance between, we don't want them selling tech secrets and intel secrets to Russia or China. We don't want them giving technology away to China or Russia. And then also, we might not be able to rely on the fact that I think it's like 6 million Jews in the United States, 7 million Jews in Israel. We can't just rely on Jewish residency to maintain a good relationship with the state of Israel. And so if we say, fuck you, go independent, Israel might say, yeah, fuck you, we're going independent and we're selling everything to everybody.
That sounds like an argument that regardless of what Israel does,
yeah, we're being held hostage. Yeah,
that we should not stop funding them.
Yeah, you have to do a balance of 60,000 dead versus Russia and China get the most advanced chip technology on the planet, and they get some of the most advanced weapon systems on the planet.
I'm going to give you a hypothetical, and I hope it's not going to be that you're not going to consider it too outlandish. Suppose that Bibi Netanyahu ordered the IDF to commit a knowing massacre of what they knew to be civilians at a food site for the purpose of discouraging civilians from accessing food. Just one time, and we have absolute proof that Bibi did this. So like suppose that there is an absolute proof that Bibi ordered one massacre at one of these food sites, killing people for the purpose of disincentivizing citizens in Gaza from obtaining food. Do you think that would be grounds for us to cease all funding of Israel?
Of course. Yeah.
Of course.
On a moral basis, 100%. However, just like we're talking about with morality in politics, we have to do the calculation, right? How many lives, for instance, I thought you were going to ask about genociding the entire 2 million people. For me, I think
it's much less than that, right? Like if we have evidence that Israel is directing
is trying to murder Palestinians for the sake of murdering Palestinians, not out of some security concern or whatever.
Right. I would think that like, wait, hang on a second. We have to stop funding this. Even putting aside if it's every single person, right? And I actually think that the odds are like, what do you think the odds are that they're specifically making conditions in Gaza as bad as possible for the explicit purpose of getting them all out of there. That is to say, making it worse from a humanitarian perspective for the explicit purpose of getting them all out of there. I think that's a high likelihood, don't you?
So here's where I don't feel like I know enough. Okay. Since 2023, allegedly, the numbers that we're working with are 60K dead, 20,000 fighters dead, and 200,000 projected deaths from indirect causes, disease, malnutrition, et cetera, right? That's what we're looking at right now. That's 10% of the Gazan population dead. Pretty fucked up, right? But if we look at the Israeli arguments and we steelman them, we don't assume that they're being duplicitous, then in modern urban combat, a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 civilian to combatant death ratio is pretty common in urban combat. So if you look at Hue City in Vietnam, if you look at Fallujah, Second Battle of Fallujah, if you look at some of the battles in World War II, et cetera, this is actually pretty in line with like modern conflict stats. So then the question becomes, what is incumbent upon Israel as
what do you think the
next
objective
step?
is my question. What do you
Sorry,
think
what's
the
that?
objective is? My question is, what do you think Israel's objective is?
No, that's where, for me, the longer that they keep people in tents, subject to food aid with no plans to rebuild Gaza, the more it looks like ethnic cleansing to me.
I think that's clearer already. Like I think it's clear. Like,
well, why would Trump endorse it if that wasn't the plan?
Right. Exactly. So like they're open about this shit. Like it's for me, it's kind of clear what their aim is, and like why are we even still debating it? It seems that their aim is specifically to push all of these people out of the country.
Well, then, but then the question becomes a question of pragmatics of where, because Egypt won't take them, Libya won't take them, Jordan won't take them. So
all we're talking about. So I'm not asking about. I'm saying, what are the intents of the state of Israel?
It could be. I think the Netanyahu government would love it. They would love it if Egypt said the humanitarian crisis is too great to bear. We're opening the Sinai to all the Palestinians.
What is their current present intent? But from all the evidence, I think the best conclusion is they're trying to push the Gazans out. Do you agree? That's the best conclusion?
I would say it's 70-30, 80-20 ethnic cleansing.
Okay. And then the denial of food, these massacres, to me, the most plausible scenario is they're specifically trying to disincentivize the people from going to these food trucks at all, to make conditions bad, make people question whether they should stick around, even though they've been pressured by the Trump administration and others to allow some amount of aid in. These massacres, in context of their ultimate aim, make complete sense, right? Like, we're killing these people because we want to push them the fuck out. And that's something where, if that's the goal, right? If that is the ultimate goal here, and there isn't an ultimate goal of rebuilding, there isn't an ultimate goal of stopping the massacre, stopping the bloodshed, why should America fund it? I don't think that is, like, strictly speaking, a communist position. And it's one I think that the Biden administration should have taken a harder line and harder look.
It's what will the world tolerate, and what is in the interest of the United States. And I hate to be so cold about it, but the truth is, like I said, Israel's a high technology country. We don't want them to drift into China's orbit or Russia's orbit. Then if you also look at the Syrian civil war, 500,000 dead. If you look at the Yemeni conflict with Saudi Arabia, I don't even know how many people died, but I know Saudi Arabia effectively did a humanitarian blockade against the Yemenis for like a decade and bombed the shit out of them. So, is 200,000 projected dead and a attempt, not a feeble, but a haphazard attempt at ethnic cleansing, is it enough to sever the relationship? And morally, yes. Politically, I don't think so.
I don't know what you mean by that. Like, so if ethically it's the right thing to do,
I think the United States is going to sweep for it. I think the United States is going to sweep for it.
Well, I take something when someone says something is ethically correct, I take that to be the thing that you ought do. I don't understand ethics outside of things that you ought do. So if the ethical thing is to stop aid, then it's by definition, analytically, it's a thing that ought happen. So I don't understand what you mean by it's the right thing to do outside of that we ought do it.
Because there's a geopolitical calculus, okay?
I would include the geopolitical calculus in whether something is right or wrong, because my notion of what something is right or wrong is something that someone ought do. I don't understand right or wrong outside of
I don't think so.
You ought do.
I don't
Okay,
think so. So as an example, let's say that we totally alienate Israel. We say, fuck them, you're not getting a dime from us. You're committing an ethnic cleansing. You're a piece of shit. Fuck you, right? And so we alienate Israel, and they sell all of our defense secrets to Russia and China. Okay, China gains in the next 2 decades, as a result of this consequence, gains a military advantage that allows them to invade and seize Taiwan, which, by the way, I think has like a population of 10 million, right? So what we've done is we've sacrificed our relationship with a country that was currently attempting an ethnic cleansing of 2 million people, and we've condemned 10 million people to slavery with the CCP, and we've also empowered authoritarian communism for another century. So that is part of the moral calculus.
You would have to make the calculation that the Israeli secret that they have right there is, that's the horseshoe. You know that horseshoe thing? Because of the horseshoe, the horse was lost because the horse was lost, the soldier was lost because the soldier was lost, the unit was lost because the unit lost,
Sure.
the flank was lost because the flank was lost, the battle was lost because the battle was lost. The war, like, you would have to take some sort of calculation that Israel has some sort of defense secret so secret that it could literally be the linchpin in a strategy of China invading Taiwan. I just don't have a reason to believe that that's the case. You can invent any kind of scenario that that like would, I don't know, to lead to that. Maybe you think that Israel will like sell nukes to someone. If I don't think that that's very likely. Like I don't know.
It's not very likely. It's not very likely, and I also think that that there's a strong chance that even if we applied leverage to Israel, let's say that Kamala won instead, and Kamala said, hey, listen, you guys are fucking up on the world stage. You're committing an ethnic genocide or like an ethnic cleansing with our name written all over it. We can't support this shit. So you guys need to back the fuck off. I think that Israel would probably listen. Reason being that we have 6 million Jews in our population. That's almost the same population that lives in Israel, right? So I think that we have the leverage to tell Israel what to do. But you have to have somebody who has the balls and the moral clarity to take that risk.
Yeah, we know that. So like, but the thing is, we're really talking about me. This is all about me, right? And so the reason I say that is, does me saying, hey, what America should do is take that stand, which you think more likely than not would result in some change in potentially in what Israel's actions are. I do think that sometimes they're movable. Even Trump, right, moved them a little bit on some things. Biden certainly did that as well. So I do think that there is room for America, the country, to play. So for me, taking the position that, hey, we need to at least threaten to cut off aid,
at least
threaten it, at least use some of our leverage. That makes me a fucking communist? In what world?
No. It's not that. And by the way, I would just refer you. You're kind of coming to me and you're expecting me to explain chat's feelings. I've been fighting fucking chat all day that cronyism and nepotism is bad. And just because Trump is worse doesn't make cronyism and nepotism good. You know what I'm saying? So like we're talking about emotional arguments, right? Okay. Do you want, I'll ask you these questions. This should clarify it for chat. Do you want a moneyless, stateless, classless society?
No.
Then you're not a communist. Do you want the decommodification of basic human need and workers owning the means of production, which means that the government steps in and it guarantees food, water, and shelter for every human being within the country, and also the state mandates, if you don't go with this, I'm gonna shoot you in the face, okay? Mandates that employees have a guaranteed stock in the companies they work for.
Oh.
Then you're not a socialist and you're not a communist.
I don't know if I take that socialist definition. I think socialism is like a matter of degree, not necessarily like an on-off switch. But
we could argue about that, but that would piss me off. And the reason why it would piss me off is because then cops are socialist and taxes are socialist, and
fair enough.
And the feudal kingdoms of medieval Europe were socialist, which is bullshit. Obviously,
I don't have a principled position against the accumulation of capital. I don't have a principled position against private ownership. I want government ownership and collective ownership to the extent that it makes sense and produces results that I take to be good. But it's not a principle
to shore up for market failures, which I think is a sensible position.
Hence I'm a liberal. Doobie super chats. Does Conor ever give thought to what his God would think of him giving a pass to the massacre of civilians for quote pragmatical geopolitical concerns? Seems like he's on the wrong side of this. I just think that whatever, I'll let you respond to that. I think that whatever moral calculus would include those geopolitical concerns. I think what Conor would say is if he's pricing in the death of other people, right, he needs to weigh that, and his God, right, like would weigh that or something. So if Conor actually believes there's a basis to think that upsetting this relationship would lead to the enslavement and death of other people, I don't think he's crazy for factoring that into.
Well, I can steel man that even further. I got some super chats as well, and I think one of them was a question for you. Okay, so let's say that I was a literalist, which I'm not. God condemned the Philistines to death multiple times through conquest by the state of Israel. And he condemned the tribe of the Amalekites specifically to be genocided off of the face of the planet to the point that they even killed the babies and the donkeys.
Your God literally is a genocidal God.
Right. So if I was a literalist, my God would be genocidal. But since I'm not a literalist, I just think that there's a creative and ordered force in the universe. And when you observe social behaviors that are pro-social, typically we call those things virtue. And when we observe like bad behaviors, we call those vices, and the Bible calls it sin. And so when I bump into a bunch of anti-theists who don't even believe in good or bad or virtue or vice, I call them historical and spiritual ignoramuses. So I'm not a literalist.
Okay. All right. I want to circle back again on the whole conversation stuff. Like, so with the Vanguard situation, do you identify anything that we did that's wrong that you think is wrong?
No, I would just you know how you do like I think BDSM people call it aftercare, you know, after you beat the shit out of your partner in a sexual context. I think you just need to do a little bit of aftercare for Hutch. You just need to go, "Oh, I know that got pretty spicy. Are you okay, buddy?"
Didn't that like a little? So first of all, I think we did that, and I think we've had like multiple of these aftercare sessions with Hutch already. But I feel like in any other context, if that were the prescription with that respect to that conversation is to do aftercare, people would like laugh at how soy that notion is. You know?
Sure. No, I agree, but the left is soy.
Okay,
right?
but like you're basically saying we should give him a belly rub after just to make him feel good.
He's bringing you the content, man. He's owed at least a belly rub. He's fighting you guys. He's making it spicy. He's making it fun. He's making it interesting. You owe him a belly rub.
I agree, but then okay, in terms of the actual conversation that we had, you're not going to sign off to these unhinged thread writers who are like, oh yeah, they're fucking gaslighting, right? We didn't. Do you think that we gaslit?
The only part of the gaslighting that I think I called out while I was reviewing the content was you started the AOC conversation with like, Hutch, you don't have a moral argument against us, right? You only have a pragmatic argument, right? And that's kind of like appealing to the fact that like if he had a moral argument, he was a bad person.
No. That is not at all what's happening there. No. What was happening there is like, in terms of the substance of the policy, do you agree with the argument that it's, you know, that you can funge it, right? That all this is fungible, and you agree at base of what's going on? And then Hutch said yes. And I was trying to split it off so we have clarity, right? It's like, what I'm trying to do in these conversations is to get clarity, not to have lack of clarity. So I'm not trying to just have this big gestalt where everything's mixed in and we're just kind of like dodging each other and we're just ghosts passing on a ship. I just want to actually get clarity. So I want to separate the conversation from a policy perspective. Does it make sense to principally be against Iron Dome funding for Israel, to be in favor of Iron Dome funding for Israel, but be against other types of funding? And I think the answer is yeah, you can take a stand against it because of the fungibility. And then the second argument is, notwithstanding that, do you think that it's okay or permissible or for either AOC to vote that way, or do you think it's permissible for them to react the way they did to that vote? And that's a separate conversation. I think separating that out is totally good, and it's to get clarity.
Yeah, sure. And I would say that the moral question specifically when it comes to the Iron Dome funding is a question of how it's done. So for instance, let's just say that we cut off the supply of missiles immediately. We said, go fuck yourself. You're not getting any money. Then I would view that as
their own missiles, by the way. I think they make their own missiles.
Well, sure, but we cut off the funding for it or whatever applies, right? If we cut that off and they needed time to reallocate resources in order to make sure that their missile stocks were up, then I think that you're effectively condemning some Israeli civilians to death. Whereas if you give them a taper off where you say this will be done over the next 6 months or this will be done over the next year, then I think that moral argument loses its sting.
Okay, but like regardless of, I'm not gaslighting by putting up that distinction is my point, right? Like by putting up the distinction between like the underlying argument and then the vote argument and saying that these are separate things.
So
I don't think that's gaslighting.
So tally bots, you know,
tally bots, the famous tally bots. Yeah.
Funnily enough, I actually texted Josiah and I said, hey, can I come on in order to fight you guys about tally bots? And he didn't respond.
I would love to talk about that too, but go ahead.
Yeah, I might be running out of time though. So, but we could do this again. I don't care.
Yeah.
So Tallybot says that Connor, the truth in our prescription is don't move further left. And so what I would hold you to in the spirit of that statement is I already showed you my beautiful paint drawing. My coalition is sensible progressives, sensible liberals, libertarians, conservatarians, and even contrarians. Let's say that like Tim Pool saw the light and he was like, oh my God, Trump is actually a fucking pedophile. MAGA is evil.
Copium,
destroying our republic is actually evil. I'm going to go back to being a centrist, and I'm going to call out the left when it's gone too far, but I'm also going to call out the right when it goes too far. Let's say Tim Pool did that. He had a spiritual awakening. I would give him a hug and welcome him back into the fold. Okay? So
I just want to say one thing, and I want to let you finish. It's a little bit much because Taliban's voted for Trump. Vanguard voted for Kamala
as a protest.
So why should we? So why should we be more open to the Talibots of the world than the Vanguards of the world, where Taliban's voted for Trump, not just sat out? Vanguard voted for Kamala. So explain to me that.
Because Tally, no offense, Tally, I'm going to stereotype the shit out of you, and you can argue with me later about it. Tally, in my opinion, is a disaffected Jew. Okay. She saw all the fucking ugly anti-Semitism. She saw all the identity politics. She saw all the fucking heat. She saw people like I'm straw manning her in law. You can let me finish my straw man. And she also saw that there were lefties who were laughing about random Jews getting verbally and physically accosted in Western countries just for being physically Jewish. And she said, fuck this. I am not a part of whatever the fuck this is. And so as a result, she did a protest vote against the excesses of the left. That's why you should care about Tally. Whereas if the Vanguard or Marxist-Leninists, they can go kill themselves because, well, that's rude. They should go fuck themselves with a 40-foot pole because they're fucking tankies.
This is crazy. This is crazy. So Tally specifically disclaims your characterization. She says that's not why she did it. She references a kind of more ideal vibes based on the woke stuff. Vibes woke stuff. That's her explanation.
Sure.
Not like.
But what is the woke stuff? The woke stuff is identity politics, victimization, all that bullshit. And let's face it,
identity politics
being racist but doing it in a woke way. That's woke shit. Being racist as fuck, but doing it in a progressive way.
Okay, but she's not claiming that it's because of her Jewish identity. In fact, she is very offended at that notion when people like Doobie, for example, or like it's Jewish. I don't know if Doobie actually said this to her, but I just want to like people will say.
Yeah, sure. I straw man the shit out of her. I wanted to be anti-Semitic on stream. She, okay.
Okay, so you're condescending to her. That's number one, and two, like I haven't heard an answer.
But you understand that she's not the only person that I've heard that from, right?
Yeah, maybe not. Yeah. Who else?
Dude, even
aristocracy.
Aristocracy. She's another one. And what's so funny, I don't know if anybody will send Queeman this clip, but Queeman, like I watched a clip of Queeman laughing at aristocracy, and it was the most self-hating Jew shit I'd ever heard in my life. He was like, oh pogroms. There's no pogroms. Nobody hates Jews. Lol. Don't hurt me, guys. That was like Queeman's response to aristocracy freaking out about anti-Semitism in Canada. But anyways, so also Brianna Wu, and you can say that she's a grifter or a shill for AIPAC or all that bullshit, but her exact narrative is October 7, 2023 happens. There's a bunch of far lefties who are praising terrorism. There's a bunch of liberals who don't call out the progressives. And you say, I'm still a liberal, but fuck all of these guys. That's a very common narrative.
Okay. I just don't like, so at the end of the day, we're left with two people who voted for Kamala and one person who voted for Trump, and you think that we should calibrate our response to build a bridge with the Trump voter. Again, all love to Taliban.
No. Tally is indicative of a problem, but you shouldn't specifically cater your political response to her.
Who won't even commit to voting for the Democrat in the future.
Yeah, because you guys fucking struggle sessioned her for fucking 5 hours.
Get off of it. Come on.
No,
really?
dude. It was like watching a fucking Maoist cultural revolution fucking struggle session where you're like, you know what you did was bad, right? You disavow what you did previously, right? All that was missing was her with the fucking like a placard fucking in front of her saying like, I am a capitalist roader. I'm somebody who sympathizes with capitalism. That's what it would have been in the fucking Cultural Revolution context. But in your context, it would have been, I'm a Trump voter. If all you fuckers could, I'm joking a little bit, but I'm kind of being serious. If you fucking could, you would grab Talibats, you would drag her to fucking Park Avenue, you would stick a fucking sign on her that said, I'm a Trump voter, and you would just fucking yell slurs at her for 6 hours until she recanted.
So, first of all, even if I did think that you characterized correctly our encounter with Talibats who, you know, we very much respect. Even if I did grant that, that's exactly what the fuck you wanted us to do with Vanguard, right? You wanted a struggle session
because they're
the
fucking
Vanguard.
tankies.
So,
yes, they have different ideologies. One is better than the other one. Correct.
Wait. Talibats' ideology is better than tanky ideology. First of all,
yes,
I don't even know what you mean. What do you mean by tanky?
Libs. Yes, contrarian liberals who voted right-wing to give a middle finger to progressives and leftists are better than authoritarian communists. Yes, obviously.
Okay, well, so I don't know that they're authoritarian tankies. Like, for example,
listen, they could explain it to me, but their name is the Vanguard.
I understand. Okay, I understand that their name is the Vanguard.
And they fight liberals all the fucking time.
I understand that. So do a lot of other lefty content creators. But I think true tankies are people like Haas from Infrared, people like Jackson Hinkle, who are like Stalinists, pro-Russia people.
Okay, so dude, I am sure that there is some like cringe hide your power level bullshit where they're like, oh, well, Mao was actually bad because of the the Great Leap Forward, and Stalin was bad because of the purges. But realistically, we need a vanguard party, but we need them to be really nice about it. I'm sure they have some fucking hiding their power level Marxist.
You actually don't know, though.
Bullshit.
Okay, so now we're gonna.
I don't fucking buy it for a goddamn second.
You actually don't know their ideology, right?
You're right. I would love to talk to them about it. However, they name themselves the Vanguard.
You don't know. Oh, so because their name is the Vanguard. First of all, Vanguard.
What if I
isn't your name Valor Media Network? That sounds fucking fascist as shit. Valor.
What if I named myself the Waffen? What if I named myself the Wolfen? What if I named myself the Brown Shirt? Do you think, would you have any objections? Would you think that maybe I was hiding my power level a little bit? What if I named myself the Beer Hall Putsch? You know?
You think these are analogous?
Yes, I view Vanguard Marxism as some of the most evil shit that's happened in human history, 100%.
Okay. Well,
it gave us Pol Pot, it gave us Mao Zedong, it gave us Joseph Stalin, and they committed some of the worst crimes against humanity in history.
Okay, so you are accusing them of being tankies because of the name, right?
Well, I don't know. Maybe they would say, "Oh, we picked it when we were 17, but realistically, we're social democrats right now. We stuck with the label because we picked it when we were young." You are
accusing them. So what I see of their content is that they should talk to the MAGA, they should talk to the administration, that they did express a preference for Kamala, they did express that they voted for Kamala, that they shit on Cenk Uygur when Cenk Uygur literally trying to make bridges with like fascists like Charlie Kirk and trying to make bridges with Elon Musk and those people. That's the content I see, and I think it's fucking based. I think that's base content. I think that's great. Now, I haven't seen these clips of the Vanguard saying we don't want rights. You know, they're talking about Kilmar Garcia and saying that they don't like the violations of due process there. So I assume that they're not ideologically against due process if they're literally talking about Mahmoud Khalil. In fact, I'm going to go on a limb here. I seem to recall you defending the actions taken against Mahmoud Khalil, the authoritarian actions taken in that context. Now, you did defend Kilmar Garcia, but so did they. And so I don't have a basis to believe, other than their name referencing some aspect of Marxist Leninism, the Vanguard stuff, I don't have a reason beyond their name, which I think can be explained for it could just be optics, it could just be
Yeah, let me
whatever.
reverse
They're
your
actual Tankies.
argumentation.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was watching this kid, Nick Fuentes. He says that he's America First the other day, and he was criticizing Hassan Piker. And you know what? I actually really hate Hassan Piker. Therefore, he's a good kid. I'm going to go ahead and hang out with him. I've never heard him endorse any racist policies.
Yeah, but
as a matter of fact, I'm gonna rename my YouTube channel the Sturmabettalung, commonly known as the Brown Shirts. Now, I'm not going to talk about Nazism, but actually, I'm kind of like a milquetoast conservative. I'm like a TPUSA type.
Except for Fuentes, we actually do have clips of his ideology, and where he's saying things. So we don't necessarily have that for the Vanguard, where you're accusing them of being like Stalinists, Maoists. So yeah, you should ask them.
Yeah, I don't have a direct line to them. But if you'll introduce me, I'll ask him 100%.
All right, I'll definitely introduce you.
And I'll be very polite.
I hope you will be. But aren't you doing the wrong thing? So if you come out and you're like, hey, those are nice guys, I don't actually think they're tankies, you're going to be attacked as, oh, you're going to the left. You're becoming a lefty. You're becoming a lefty. You're hanging out with all these lefties. No.
Because they're probably at least social democrats, right? So if they're
aren't you a social democrat?
No.
I think I consider myself a social democrat. Social democrat as compared to democratic socialist, right? Isn't a social democrat someone who's in favor? That's like what Destiny is. Destiny calls himself social democrat. He's like that. He's in favor of some amount of.
And also, weirdly enough, you're saying social democrat. So what I'm hearing descriptively when I hear social democrat is I effectively hear like robust welfare state that takes care of all of the market failures.
That's like what Biden would propose, right? Like a public option. That's like what Kamala would propose. I don't view that as like
I think that you can eliminate a lot of social ills through mild social conservatism.
Okay, I don't see how that's responsive. What I'm saying is it's not like a radical lefty position to be like, okay, you think that they're at least social democrats. I don't know. I think under a lot of definitions of the term social democrat, Josiah would be a social democrat. Hutch would be a social democrat, right? Like Hutch is a social democrat. So he is in favor of socialized medicine. He's in favor of he voted for Bernie. So anything that would be okay, you can say it's cringe. Anything that would paint them as like, oh, at least a social democrat. Hutch is a social democrat. And
and you know what? And you know what? There's
all vibes.
Okay. There's real social democrats who effectively want the Scandinavian model and they want to one-to-one import it to the United States. And then there's social democrats who know that being a socialist or a communist is unpalatable and they're just hiding their power level.
Okay, you say they're hiding the power level. Do tankies vote for Kamala Harris?
The ones that believe in electoralism probably did as a lesser of two evils thing. As a matter of fact, wasn't that your argument? You said that lefties 2-to-1 showed up and did vote.
I don't think I said any specific numbers, but I think the left wing, that is to say, the most ideological left people voted for Kamala Harris when they voted.
Yeah, and wasn't Hutch's counter argument that like tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of people? Well, number one, didn't 5 million people not show up at all? And then number two, didn't shitloads of fucking people in Michigan because of the Dearborn population, didn't they not show up effectively?
So people, first of all, I'm seeing a super chat in your chat says, Hassan voted for Kamala. Does that make him better than Tali? So I don't know that Hassan voted for Kamala. I don't think he said that he did. When did Hassan say that he voted for Kamala?
So treat it as a hypothetical. Treat it as a hypothetical. If Hassan voted for Kamala,
I think that he would be a better ally than Tali, who voted for Trump. Isn't that?
Yeah. So this is the heart of the disagreement. This is the heart of the disagreement.
Do you agree with that?
No, not at all. And this is the heart of the disagreement. So Talibots, as far as I understand, is a liberal in that she believes in freedom of conscience, freedom of speech, limited government. Maybe she believes in the Second Amendment. I have no fucking idea. Free markets, et cetera, et cetera. I haven't heard her articulate these things, but I'm making a presumption that if the left wing turned you off and you were willing to vote for the right wing, you would be okay with these concepts.
She voted for a fascist. She voted for a fascist.
She did a protest vote against the lefties who did psycho shit.
Wait, she could have protested and not voted for the fascist. A lot of people did that.
Yeah, you're right. But she basically said that her vote wasn't going to count either way. So she was effectively trying to give you and people like you a middle finger so you would think about what you were doing. And you haven't so far, by the way. You haven't.
And she voted for a fascist.
Okay. And?
Okay. So
she was an overwhelmingly blue state. Her vote didn't matter.
It doesn't. Wait, this I hate this analysis. This would be the same if she were in a swing state. Her likely effect as a singular voter on the outcome of the election would be just
Even
as
if you disagree with the
astronomically
logic,
low.
do you understand the logic?
No, I don't actually. I think it doesn't
You
make sense.
don't understand that
It-
if a state votes 99-1 in one direction, that somebody
it's
can
gonna do
write in a candidate that they don't like as a protest
I understand the
and
cognitive
feel like they're not taking
excuse.
any political
So-
risk.
So I think it's based on a delusion. But assume that would only betray a preference for Kamala. If what you're saying is I would have voted differently in a swing state, even though you're just as astronomically unlikely to affect the outcome based on your
Yeah, she doesn't want to be struggle sessioned by you. Yeah.
What do you mean? That has no. She didn't know me when she made the voting decision. You're just saying random shit, Connor.
No,
That's
I
not what was
watched the
going on.
struggle session.
No,
I think I reacted to the struggle
We're
session.
talking about her decision in the moment.
And?
You're just saying random shit. She wasn't thinking about me when she was in the fucking voting booth. What were you telling?
I think she was. I think she was 100% thinking to herself, the Democrats are playing footsie with far lefty psychopaths. They fucking, in 2020, some prominent lefties came out and supported not just BLM as in a police reform movement. They talked about ACAB. They talked about defunding the police. They talked about this. They talked about that. They didn't do shit with it, by the way. They supported a bunch of anti-white racist shit at that time, and I went along with it because I was a lefty at the time. And then October 7, 2023 hit, and they came after the fucking Jews, and that rubbed me the fucking wrong way. So fuck these people.
Okay,
that's what I heard.
I mean, I'll just give you even the harder hypothetical. I don't know if you're going to bite it. Hassan, who voted for Kamala, or Rob Noor, who's a closer ally?
Closer ally to whom? You or me?
Do both.
Okay, so I think for you, Hassan is probably a closer ally. I think for me, Rob is still a closer ally.
Rob, who not only voted for a fascist, Rob, who plays cover for that fascist,
sure,
on a daily basis. Yeah, he criticized a little bit here and there.
I'll explain why. I'll explain why. Because number one, Rob doesn't think he's voting for a fascist. Number two, he has I think delusional, but he has a real narrative that he's built in his head for why Democrats are the real fascists. Then also what Rob ultimately fucking wants is he wants working class and middle class Americans to be able to wake up, work, pay their bills, take care of their family, and not be under a corrupt government that keeps getting them into international misadventures that costs Americans the blood and treasure of his country. He's a nationalist. You can say that he's delusional, but I respect more the instinct of Rob Noor to actually care about the United States, to love the United States, to care about its people versus shut the fuck up, Hassan Piker, who is antipathetic to the United States. He hates the United States. He hates the Constitution.
I don't understand what that means.
He hates the liberal democracy. He simps for authoritarian regimes. He simps for jihadist organizations. He simps for authoritarian communist organizations. He wants to see the downfall of the United States. You better believe goddamn well that Rob Noor is a closer ally to me than fucking Hassan Piker. 10 toes down, as he would say.
At least electorally, you would agree by definition Hassan would be a closer ally.
Yeah, sure. Electorally, not ideologically.
So if I'm the Democratic Party, you would agree, not just me, crazy Pisco, crazy awakened lefty Pisco, that for the Democratic Party, they should be, if they had to choose to build a bridge with someone, the closer bridge would be Hassan than Rob. You must agree with that.
I think there are. I think stop. You asked me a question. I'm going to answer it. I think that with the insanity of MAGA, with the Epstein files, with the tariff economic implosions, with the chaos surrounding our neighbors, with the endorsement of the Gazan genocide, I think there are way more moderates up for grabs than there are leftists. Way more, and you're squandering them, which sucks.
Dude, I'm not talking about the moderates that Democrats could appeal to. I'm talking about Rob Noor As between,
I think, okay, what I'm saying is, I think by choosing Hassan Piker to endorse him in any shape, form, capacity, you effectively make both sides look evil. And so as a result, the moderates will not come over to the left. If you sweep for, don't call out, endorse somebody who is preying on the downfall of the United States, openly endorses authoritarian communism, and openly endorses terrorism.
you don't want to be seen at all in any capacity, in any hypothetical, even expressing a preference for Hassan, even when it's this crazy, because you're DGG baiting, because you know that if you say anything positive, even as a hypothetical, even in comparison to a major magatard like Rob Noor, that you can't, even in that context, even in that crazy context, where the choices between Rob and Hassan as an ally for the Democratic Party, even in that situation, you're unwilling to express a preference for Hassan. That shows you are cooked, my friend. I can't believe you would actually say that.
No. You actually just ignored what I said. You just ignored what I said.
Okay, yeah. So go.
So I think you asked me if MAGA or whatever, or if Rob was reachable, and then you asked me in the hypothetical, who should we pursue, Hassan Piker or Rob?
Who's a closer ally? For the Democratic
I already
Party?
answered this.
Politically,
Rob Noor. Hassan. Ideologically, for me, Rob Noor. Right? Okay. So what I'm saying, but listen to me when I say this. Ignore everything that's happened for the past 2 minutes, okay?
Okay.
What I'm saying is, if you actively pursue Hassan or sweep for Hassan, you, like, let's say for every Hassan person you get, you are going to lose 2 to 3 moderates. 100%. All day, every day. I'm not talking about Rob Noor. I'm talking about moderates. Independents and contrarians like Tallybots, who maybe Tally's a bad example because she wouldn't own her fucking bullshit. But there's other people like Tally who probably did a protest vote. They wrote in Jill Stein. They wrote in a libertarian. They wrote in this person. They wrote in that person. If you give them a viable alternative, they will pick the viable alternative over MAGA. And if you endorse terrorism and if you endorse Hassan Piker, you're fucked.
Who's the closer ally for the DNC, Nick Fuentes or Hassan Piker?
Yeah, Hassan Piker, obviously.
Okay. As between Charlie Kirk and Hassan Piker, who's a closer ally?
Charlie Kirk.
For the DNC. I mean, I can't explain this about anything other than you're trying to optics right now.
Nope.
You must be trying to do that.
No. I've already answered
your question. Is a better ally to the DNC than Hassan Piker.
I've already answered your question 2 or 3 times.
Okay, all right.
There's politically, which is the vote. If you want to talk about the vote, obviously Hassan Piker is more useful to the DNC than Charlie Kirk. If you're talking about ideology, which I've mentioned 3 times right now, Hassan Piker is... Yeah, Hassan Piker wants to see the downfall of the United States. Charlie Kirk, in my opinion, thinks that he's fulfilling the promise of the United States. He's a retarded, delusional freak, but he doesn't want to see the downfall of the United States of America.
Oof. I'm going to be careful what I say next. Hang on, let me just think. Give me a second to think.
I have to pee and leave in a minute, and I need to read a super chat as well. So, but make a good point. Make a good point. I'll respond to it. I'll read you the super chats, and then we can continue this a different day.
Okay. I think you have a Hassan derangement syndrome.
I don't. I don't at all. I don't. Why the fuck? I think you have a lack of. I think you have Hassan devotion syndrome. Okay.
You think I'm a devotee to Hassan?
Nah, that was
I condemned him.
No, I just took the Trump devotion syndrome and I inverted it.
Okay.
Hold up. In what world should you ever cater to a human being who says that it's good to shoot missiles into civilian commercial vessels and kidnap
I'm not saying
civilians?
that's good. No, I'm not saying that that's good. I'm saying as between Charlie Kirk and Hassan, Charlie Kirk is incredibly illiberal. Charlie Kirk is not a liberal. Charlie Kirk is a fascist. He's part of this like Hitler Youth movement in our country.
I think he's so retarded he might just be self-deluding. Do you think Hassan Piker is so
And Hassan
stupid?
is not.
Do you
Hassan is
think
not.
Hassan Piker is so
Do you think
stupid
Hassan
that
is
he's
some-
delusional?
Dude.
No, I'm asking. If you say yes, then I could just be like,
Hassan,
okay, both of these
I
people
think
are
in
stupid and
terms of-
delusional.
In terms of like gray matter and brain neurons, I think that Charlie Kirk is probably smarter than Hassan Piker. Do you agree?
Yeah, probably.
So, but you're like, Charlie Kirk, I believe, is genuinely a liberal. You sound like
No. I think that if it came down to a vote to abolish amendments of the United States of America, I don't think Charlie Kirk would vote to abolish amendments of the United States of America.
meaning about Trump term 3. You think that if Trump tried to run for a third term, he wouldn't be in favor of it? Charlie Kirk is talking about changing the 14th Amendment citizenship clause. He'll make any excuse in the book to change the Constitution to fulfill his authoritarian aims. What are you talking about?
You can put this in the thumbnail again. I concede Charlie Kirk is retarded and evil.
I didn't make the thumbnail, bro. I don't make the thumbnails. Right?
Is that a good enough thumbnail for you?
He's
thumbnail guy.
illiberal.
Thumbnail guy. Put I concede, and then people will watch this and be like, "Oh my god, Pisco owned Conor in the marketplace of ideas. What a dumbass! Fuck this guy. This guy's so fucking stupid." And then they can finally get to the segment where I say I concede, and the thing that I'm conceding is that Charlie Kirk is fucking a dipshit. Sure. But you win. Charlie Kirk's a fucking illiberal dipshit.
So here's the question: who would you rather have as president, Charlie Kirk or Hassan Piker?
Charlie Kirk all day.
Exactly.
All day.
I just don't understand that. Yeah, but okay.
Maybe because Hassan Piker simps for all of the enemies of the United States of America. That's actually pretty understandable if you're not dumb as fuck. All right. Anyways, let me read you my super chats.
Yeah, read the super chat. But I just wanted the last thing I'll say is, I think we actually disagree on who the enemy is. I think that is at the end of the day, like there's a greater enemy here.
Who's your enemy?
Charlie Kirk and his ilk. MAGA is my enemy.
Okay,
that's my main enemy.
MAGA is my enemy. My enemy is also. No, I probably hold. This is probably the sincere difference between us. My enemy is also the far left and half of progressivism. Simultaneously, I have two enemies.
They equal? Who's your greater enemy? Well, I think you already said it. Your greater enemy are those.
By the way, progressivism was a greater cultural enemy over the past decade. MAGA is clearly the bigger the bigger political threat right now. But just because like Henry Kissinger, he says like it's a shame that both can't lose. I'm fighting for a center-left, center-right coalition because I want MAGA to lose and I want the far left to lose.
Gun to head, you'll pick the fascists over the commie.
Yep. I unironically, like in Chile, I will unironically pick Bukele and what's the other guy? Chile. He's the dictator. He's the guy who threw people out of airplanes. What was his name?
You're talking about Pinochet.
Pinochet. I would pick Pinochet and Bukele over Maduro.
And Allende.
Probably. All right. Anyways, let me read you some super chats.
Yeah.
Melody says $5. Fight Pisco regarding the Hutch stuff. Got it. True Zealot says here's a 5 and a crisp high 5 to follow if you tell Pisco that he looks like a rejected VeggieTales character. All right, you look like a rejected VeggieTales character. $5 for the big guy, somebody says. Sacred Sound says, pass this on to Pisco. You asked Hutch, do you just want me to go harder on the Vanguard when we disagree? This point is why you should, so you don't mix the message. Ask Pisco. Hassan voted for... Sorry, for that one, yeah. That was barely in English for me. Did you understand that one?
No, yeah, I think he's basically. I think it's what people are actually asking for is for more virtue signaling, right?
Sure.
We say that we should give a belly rub, and we should say Hassan bad, Hassan bad, Hassan bad, Hassan bad, Vanguard bad. Like I think that's what people
unironically, yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Then Sacred Snow. Well, actually, I think we already answered this question. He says Hassan voted for Kamala. Does that make him better than Tally? Yeah. So Hassan voted. I'm actually going to specify the question because I answered it for you 3 or 4 times. Tally, in my opinion, is a contrarian liberal who did a protest vote because the left went too far. Hassan Piker is a fucking tanky. So on an ideological basis, which one of them do you view more as your ideological ally? And on an electoral basis, I already know your answer, but which one is your ally in reference to electoralism?
Sorry, ideology, right? Your question. So
Ideology. If you were stranded on a coconut island, would you rather have Hassan Piker or Talibots?
Well, I don't know in terms of like fun. Like I don't know who's like in terms of
They will establish the governmental system. You're stranded with 1,000 people and you have to establish a new government. Talibots is there to design the new government, or Hassan Piker is there to design the new government. Who are you picking?
Based on stated positions, based on certain stated positions, Talibots. But
Okay.
I have to question the judgment of someone who would vote for Trump, and so that would factor heavily in terms of the reality of it. Like given the choice between it, if someone who is in my opinion so irrational as to vote for Trump based on vibes, maybe I wouldn't trust that person to establish the government. I don't think Hassan is that delusional.
I agree. I just would say that a tanky apologist is worse. So I appreciate you not giving me a meme answer, because I probably would have freaked the fuck out. Now, that being said, I am 45 minutes over time, so I need to run. But if you want to do this weekly or whatever,
I love these comedies. We should schedule some time. I think that'll be fun.
Dude, I'm live 9:30 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Monday through Friday on either Valor Media Network or my home channel Counterpoints. So if Pisco isn't live, come hang out. And then if once a week you want to get together and fight about it,
because I think that'll be fun. I think if we pick a day, I can make that part of like the regular stream hours, and we can do it.
Okay, sounds good.
Do his take with Conor.
Yeah. Perfect.
All right. Thank you so much, guys. Guys, I actually have to pee too, so I'll be right back. But thank you, Conor.
All right. See you guys
later.
All right. Okay. All right. I got to go. Otherwise, I'm going to die.